Hello everybody, my name is Martin, and I'm a millennial. While I sound like I'm at an AA meeting, my problem isn't alcoholism, but rather I have a problem with America. If you go onto Google and you search the term millennials, you'll return about 46 million results, saying things like, we're overly sensitive, we're entitled, we're lazy, and we're too liberal. But I don't believe that's the case. However, I'd like to convey this by relating to you, the older generations, on topics we can all understand, like politics, the real estate market, and jobs. Yes, jobs. That presidential race was intense, but more so is the fight for Republicans and Democrats to rule our government. I'd like to start out by saying I'm a gay Republican. I believe in the right to bear arms, but also stricter gun control. I'm pro-choice, but I want stronger borders. I don't believe we should be spending as much money abroad, but rather fixing the crumbling infrastructure here at home in America. I guess you could say this makes me a fiscally conservative, socially liberal isolationist, but for sure, I'll call myself a Republican. Oh, and I voted for Donald Trump. So, what does this mean for you? Not all of us voted for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. I wasn't in favor of free college. But this should signal to the older generations that American politics are shifting. They're going in an entirely new direction as defined by millennials and the coming youth. Millennials want change, and we're willing to fight for it. And I think this was evident in the last election. Let's go back to the collapse of 2008, when so many of our parents lost their houses due to high mortgages or just simply not having a job to pay for it. From that, we learned a lot. When we were at home and we had our yearly vacation, I was 11. You told me that this year we were trying to do a staycation and stay at home and make it fun. I wasn't stupid. I knew that we couldn't afford it. I knew when Mom was running around at night, shutting all the lights off and telling me, you can't leave that on. I knew that meant we didn't have enough money to make it, and I knew my family was struggling. So, what did I learn from that? I don't want to be house poor. We don't want to be in debt. And millennials want money. We want money to spend rather than pay for our debts. And I'm sure you can understand that. Millennials, you see, we thrive. We thrive on traveling, on experience, on living life to the fullest, as our older generations have told us growing up. So, how can that affect the older generation? We don't want big houses. Big houses were popular for you. You wanted this big house that we could all live happily in. But for millennials, that's not the case. We want smaller homes that don't take as much care, that don't take as much time or money, because these are all valuable resources for us. We want the ability to come and go as we please. You could almost blame us for the new tiny house craze. You know, those little houses about 400 square feet that you tow on the back of your truck? While it sounds crazy, we want to be able to fit our entire life into a little box. I don't know what to tell you, but that affects you too. Because see, we won't be buying those big houses. Instead of urban sprawling homes, we want that campsite tucked next to the river in the wooded valley. We want the ability to go from there to the cliffs, from there to the Grand Canyon, and then still have time to go to the city for dessert. It sounds crazy, but we thrive on traveling once again. But we're also affecting the job market. We've been deemed lazy and entitled, but we only really want a few things. Good paying jobs, decent time off with flexible hours. It kind of helps with our insatiable desire to travel. Or maybe even a good work-life balance. Because we've seen growing up having parents that work 50, 60, 70 hours a week to support our big homes. We've seen how that affects our family. And we missed our parents, and we want the opportunity to spend time with our own families. And I guess while you're at it, a nice office couldn't hurt either. For the older generations, you see, it was different. There wasn't as much of a need to go to college. Many of you started off with your own businesses. You learned a trade. College wasn't a necessity, but a privilege. And it's different. For millennials, we had to go to college. We went through all of high school being told you have to go to college, you have to go to get your degree, to get a good job and to make a living, to start a family and to retire. Because as we know, Social Security isn't going to last. But we acquired tens of thousands of dollars of debt in the meantime. And I guess you could say this is evidence that we did get our degree. But when we got out, it wasn't all we had hoped. Many of the jobs aren't paying what we wanted. We went and got our degree, but there were so many people with degrees that flooded the market, and that value went down. To have a bachelor's degree is the entry into any entry-level job that we can simply get, and it doesn't cut it. This could explain why we want to live at home. We're deemed lazy because we live with our parents, and you say we're living off our parents. However, it's not the case. We're living with our parents so we can save up money. We're staying on insurance so we don't have to pay costly bills that we don't necessarily need because we're still healthy. This also explains us wanting the smaller houses. I don't want to be house poor, and I don't think our parents want that for us either. All of this may seem like millennials are ruining the world, but in fact it couldn't be further from the truth. We're changing it. You may recognize some of our work from fellow millennials, such as Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, Sean Rad, the creator of Tinder, the app you swipe right or left to see if you like someone. I know you know. Or perhaps Andrew Mason, the creator of Groupon, getting you deals one at a time. Or even John Zimmer, the creator of Lyft, the ride-sharing service similar to Uber. You see, we grew up in different circumstances, millennials and the older generations. Millennials, we're not trying to be negative. We're simply trying to survive. We're trying to contribute to society in the ways that you did. We're focusing on living our lives to the fullest. Millennials are not overly sensitive, but rather, I believe we are keenly aware of what's happening around us. Millennials, we're not lazy. We want the time to enjoy the spoils of our hard work and enjoy our family. And finally, millennials, we're not too liberal. We're trying to make America great again in our own way. Thank you.